It is Tuesday, April 16th, 2024. This is another mock draft edition of Football Today. You know those two dudes from the Talking Giants world, Bobby Skinner, Justin Penik. Producer Mikey is helping us out as well. I am Chris Rose. Gentlemen, it is good to be reunited. And yes, I did catch the first 60 seconds of the last episode.
The floor is yours.
Yeah. Actually, I'm good. Oddly enough, don't have much to say. You're funny. You're very, very funny. I played it in the car as we were driving, and my wife was like, "What did he just say?"
Yeah, that's my new goal because you always tell us that you were listening to it with your wife. Now I'm just like, I want to throw your wife off as much as possible every time you're not on the show.
Been together 30 years. There's not much that can throw her off at this point. I'm going to tell, although that
sounds like a challenge that I am willing to meet.
All right, so we're going to continue our mock draft. For those of you that haven't thrown tomatoes at it and busted your computer screen after looking at it, just go check it out. We did round one, so we rotated around. Penik, you had the first pick. Bobby had the second pick. I had the third pick, and then we just kept rotating and rotating. There were 3 trades in the first round. We're going to continue with round 2 today. We have put this out there. We're not doing trades. It gets a little too dicey. There's a ton of them. We know that that's coming on Friday of 2024, but we're not going to partake in it. All in agreement, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I don't even love doing them the first round, but it's kind of become a part of it now. Second round, definitely not.
Okay. Before we get started, and we will just momentarily, was there a pick or something where you got like roasted in the comments, or a friend said, "What are you doing, dude?"
Well, you know what? Dalton Feely. Now, this isn't my pick. I believe who had the Colts pick?
I did.
You did.
Dalton Feely hated taking the corner out of Alabama.
What would he have preferred? He could have texted me.
He just found out. So he's going with the whole thing of Ballard takes the high athleticism guys, the guys that are tall, 99 percentile this, 99 percentile that. And I'm like, you know what? It's not what Chris Ballard would do. It's what we would do. And that's exactly what we would do. I'll tell you what, the exercise.
Also, that hasn't worked out that great for Chris Ballard either.
I was going to say. Yeah.
The exercise, I didn't love my picks towards the latter part of the first round. And I kind of think it goes to the whole talking point, something that we've been talking about on Talking Giants, Bobby, is that talent at the end of the first round, there was still some good players there. But especially as we get early into the second round, there's not a lot of players that, we're going to be picking in the 30s and the 40s. There's not a lot of players that I feel really confident about, like, oh, yeah, this player deserves to be pick 34, pick 46, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of guys that when you get towards the third round and in the 70s and the 80s that, I feel like this is great value. But guys in the second round, I don't know. I just don't feel like the high-end second-round talent is there in this draft. And as like a fan of a team that has pick 47, I'm a little scared about what they may do and what may be available for them.
There was one pick that I had that I made. I'm going to save it. But there is one pick that probably got ridiculed that I kind of agreed with it on. Like, oh, man, I kind of panicked in the moment. So I'm going to save my talking point for that for when that player goes off the board.
Well, because I don't have this team in this round, I will say I totally regret accepting Penik's trade to just move back one spot with the Rams. I should have just taken Byron Murphy at 18.
You felt peer pressured, huh?
I think that's what it was. I don't know. Maybe it was because I like trades and stuff like that. And I was like, we can get somebody else. I could take a receiver. And by the way, they got Brian Thomas as the next pick, which isn't terrible. And somebody said, the Bengals aren't taking a receiver in the first round. Well, they might. We don't know what's going to happen with T. Higgins. He might get traded on draft night. And then the Bengals will pick up another pick, and then they'll go somewhere else and get cheaper. So we don't know. All right, with all that being said, I will hit first, and then Justin, you go, and then Bobby, you go, and we'll go until we're done. So here we go. Round 2 of our mock NFL draft. Welcome the Carolina Panthers to the party. Yes, you traded away the number 1 overall pick so you could get yourself a 5'3" quarterback and not protect him.
Definitely not regretting that at all as the Bears take Caleb Williams one year later.
Nope, not one bit.
No
so
regrets.
Here we go. What do the Panthers need, guys?
Everything. Actually, they've added some solid players in free agency, some a little bit on the older side.
Yeah.
But To me, there's no position off the board outside of quarterback for them.
They did trade for Deontay Johnson. They gave up a starting corner to go get him, so I think that will definitely help. But they just did not have enough playmakers. They did a good job filling in. They got a couple of high-priced guards in free agency. Hopefully that'll help protect Bryce Young a little bit. I am going to go with a receiver, but I don't think you guys know who it is. Want to give a guess? Anybody?
Lad McConkey.
No.
I'm not saying anything because I'm hoping. Is it Xavier Worthy?
Well, you have got the first name right.
Oh, Leggett.
I am going to go with Xavier Leggett.
Keeping the hometown kid.
Now, I think people are kind of all over the place on him. The reason I like him is he is physical. He is strong. He is a guy that go up and get the ball. He can take it away from dudes. Yes, he's got to improve in a lot of areas, but I just like his overall game, and I don't know if he can turn into Deebo Samuel somewhere down the line where he just literally runs through people, but maybe that's it. So I just need a playmaker, and that's what I'm going with, and that's what I'm sticking to.
Keeping the tradition of Carolina drafting Carolina people, so.
And also, Xavier Leggett, could possibly join Jonathan Mingo, who I really liked Jonathan Mingo last year, but could join Jonathan Mingo as they're really big and they are athletic for their size, but how are they going to be able to separate at the NFL level? And I know that's a little bit of a question I have about Xavier Leggett. Pick 34.
New England Patriots on the clock, Justin.
This is easy for me. I do view this player as a round one player. He has a ton of upside. He is pretty young. Yeah, he's 21 years old. I'm taking Chop Robinson out of Penn State.
Ooh.
Now, Bobby, you made a face. You made a face thinking that I was going to go somewhere else.
I will save that for when I make my pick because I wanted to make a pick for the Arizona Cardinals. But Chop Robinson, I think the Patriots could get the most out of him. They bring back Matthew Judon off the injury. They've got Josh Uche there, so they get put together themselves a nice little pass rush trio. Who was the edge they drafted last year? Who got some production for them? They drafted a second-round edge last year. Who was that?
They did? Well, while you look that up, I will give my opinion. Every Penn State edge guy tests out of his gourd.
Yes.
Crazy.
But the question is, can they get sufficient production at the NFL level? Like, this guy didn't even have production in college. And you wonder why, when he is that athletically gifted, that he can't put up any numbers. It's the weirdest thing ever.
It is a frustrating point that I have with edge rushers, and I've repeated it over and over again on Talking Giants. And Bobby looked it up. It's Keon White, big Georgia Tech, right?
Yeah.
Last year.
So basically, opposite players. Where Keon White is all size and power. Chop Robinson is very small, but he's the quickest edge in the draft. It's kind of crazy to see how fast he can get up on a tackle and work past him. So it's a lot of potential with Chop Robinson. Picking him is a huge risk, right? Because he could come in and be a guy who's like, he's nothing more than a third down specialist type of player because it's just not, he doesn't have the strength to finish and his speed is not going to be the same. Like he could end up being what K'Lavon Chaisson has been in the NFL, where it's like guy's fast as hell, but he just can't finish. Now, I think Chop Robinson is better than Chaisson was, but New England looking to add that pass rush. All right, so the Arizona Cardinals are on the board. And the mistake I made with the Kansas City Chiefs was letting Hollywood Brown, who's on a 1-year contract, make any decision for me. Should not. That's bad drafting for a team that's in it every single year. But that failure is going to help the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Justin picked Marvin Harrison Jr. in the first-round pick for the Cardinals, right? But they still need wide receiver help, right? They have Michael Wilson, who can be an okay player. Greg Dortch. I am going to take the opposite of the guy who's the great route runner. I'm going to take a guy who you can move in the slot, play on the outside, and I'm taking Xavier Worthy, the wide receiver out of Texas, someone who I do view as a first-round talent. He's not just all speed. Like, there's actually good route running to him. Now, when I went and watched his profile after watching him last summer, I was a little more down. It's like the drops. He really did struggle with press. But when he's on a team with Marvin Harrison Jr., he's not going to be dealing with a ton of that, and it's going to open it up. So I'm giving Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Xavier Worthy and doubling up on that position.
Okay. Did you think about anything? Because also I gave him Cooper DeJean. I gave the Cardinals Cooper DeJean with that second first round pick. Did that factor in? How much did it factor into your decision making? Because they're
a little bit, right? Because
a
little bit because hey, they need a lot of defensive talent too,
yeah.
right? But they have picks, so you go and like you said, you took care of that defensive pick with the second first round pick that they had, and now I'm just like I want to help Kyler out, right? The wide receiver room was an issue last year with Hollywood Brown, and Rondale Moore and Michael Wilson was just not a great room. I'm going to give him some advantages, and hopefully that offense can start to kick into high gear. Because it's got all the ability in the world. You drafted Paris Johnson, signed Jonah Williams, so they're building some offensive line starters in depth there. I just wanted to grab Xavier Worthy, he's the best player available on my board too.
Okay. Circle back to the Washington Commanders, who of course now got what they hope will be their franchise quarterback of the future, Drake May, with the second overall pick. They had a really interesting free agency. It felt like they were a little bit all over the board out there. They did add some interior offensive line help, which was good. The one area where I'm like, still don't know, is right tackle, where they've got Cornelius Lucas, who is a 9-year vet. I don't know if that's what you want to go with, which is why I'm going to go with Patrick Paul out of Houston. I just think that, in a very deep tackle class, yeah, he's going to need some work. I could have gone a couple of directions. I could have gone with him. I could have gone with somebody else. I don't want to say names just in case somebody has them up on their board and wants to go next with them. But that's who I'm going to take. I'm going to take Patrick Paul.
I like Patrick Paul. He had a really good Senior Bowl. And he held up pretty well down there. So I'm a fan.
Yeah, he's big and long. It's there definitely is a lot of work to do there, but Washington does need to address that offense. They did a little bit of adjusting, but they definitely need to continue to address it.
Remember, they've got, I think, 6 of the top 100 picks or something like that. So for Mr. Peters and that new front office, they got a lot of work to do, and they're gonna look like a totally different team than they did a season ago.
They're picking again at 40 in a couple picks, but the Chargers, who, I mean, for at least from our first round mock, we're coming on Football Today and talking about how the Chargers just won the evening, right? Because they had Rome Odunze and J.C. Latham because they traded back with the Minnesota Vikings. That was the big trade that happened in our first round mock. So I'm going to keep it going with, this is a risky player. He's an older player, but
I know where you're going.
Kenneth Murray left in free agency, and that was a guy that I never liked anyway out of Oklahoma, but he started for years. So let's get a true Mike linebacker in LA for this new defense, and give me Peyton Wilson, linebacker from North Carolina State.
He is fascinating. He is as fascinating as they get. You mentioned he's a little bit older, but he also has knees, back, everything, shoulder, whatever, every sort of injury you've got, he's wearing it right now.
We checked with the medical team, and we brought him in for 30, and hey, he's good, he looks good, and I'll tell you what's more important is hey, we and this isn't even the Chargers, the fake Chargers GM room. Bobby and I talked to him down in Mobile, Alabama for a little conversation, and man, he is football. Like, his life is football. He seems like he's got everything going right for him. He carries his head on a good shoulder, or whatever the phrase is like that. So I was really blown away by how he kind of like presented himself and his work ethic. So Peyton Wilson, if he stays healthy, I think he's going to be like a really good Mike linebacker in the NFL.
He's actually not my linebacker one after someone I watched today. But I did a film review on Peyton Wilson. He is extremely fun to watch. Obviously, there are risks there, but he's going to fit well in that Jim Harbaugh's defense. So I'm on the clock with the Tennessee Titans, and I'm struggling with who to pick here because they have needs, but the best players available. Part of me is tempted to go wide receiver, even though they do have Hopkins and Calvin Ridley. Treylon Burks seems like he's really not part of the plans. He could even be. I wouldn't be surprised if he's traded for a mid-round pick on Saturday of the draft.
Ouch.
Or day 2 or wherever. So I'm tempted to go wide receiver here, but I really think in this Callahan offense, a tight end would do some good. Now, the consensus is way lower on this guy than I am, but I have him tight end too. Some other smart people have him as tight end too. And I think this is a guy who would fit great in that Callahan offense because he can block. He's got really good technique. He's got athleticism, one of the best RAS scores. I'm going Theo Johnson, the tight end out of Penn State.
Wow.
Over there. This is a Bobby pick. This is not, I'm just looking at the consensus board. But he is my tight end too in this draft. I do have him as a high second round player after Brock Bowers. And I don't have any of the other tight ends that I've watched even close to what I have Theo Johnson.
But so at the combine, you walk through these catacombs in Indianapolis, and you see certain position groups that are getting ready for the next day. So they're all walking in these packs. And then we were like, I think that's the tight end group. And then all of a sudden this behemoth walks past us. I was like, Jesus, who is that? They're like, yeah, that's the kid out of Penn State. I was like, that's Theo Johnson? I could not believe what an enormous human being he was.
He's athletic. I think he's a pretty damn good route run. Like, he at least understands route running. Knows how to use the size, and he can have some bad blocking reps, but his technique is really good, and he's only going to get stronger into that. So I think this is like a perfect fit for the Callahan offense.
All right, I am back, and I've been hired by the Panthers, which is why. Yeah, which is why they suck so bad, because I'm working in their front office and doing their decision making. So we've talked about how they made some interesting moves in the offseason. They did bring in Clowney, Caleb Chason, who's been a miss as a first-round pick. DJ Wonnum, I always thought was a solid player up in Minnesota. And so he's going to contribute. Because remember, they lost both their edge guys, including one that got traded to your New York Giants, which is why we have the 39th pick right now. So the question is, do I try to go edge, which I'm not sure, or do I go corner? Because in order to get Deontay Johnson, we had to give up one of the starting corners. And I think that's what I need to do. So I think I'm going to go Ennis Rakestraw out of Missouri. Obviously, he's going to catch you just based on his name alone. I keep hearing solid things about him. A lot of people have him in the middle of the second round. Why not? Let's go with him.
And this Rakestraw, I haven't done a full write up on him, but I'm gonna watch him this week, so I can't give a ton of opinion. So yeah, Panthers back. Panthers get Xavier Legette and Ennis Rakestraw going from the mid-tier SEC schools. Justin, you're on the clock with the Commanders.
I'm on the clock with the Commanders now. The funny
thing
is,
hold on. Was that a shot at me? Going from the
I just don't. I haven't done a write up on Ennis Rakestraw, so I'm trying to think of things that I do know to add commentary.
Sorry, Justin.
I think a lot of people will be doing the same thing for the Carolina Panthers, just trying to add commentary. So Washington had pick 36, and they took an offensive lineman. And you want to know what's funny? There were two offensive linemen, one of them being a tackle, and then one of them being an interior offensive lineman that I was going to target at pick 40. But you know what? We're gonna pivot.
Pivot.
I like Kyrie Jackson out of Oregon. And that is exactly who I am going to take for our Washington Commanders.
Do you know how old he is?
No, he does not.
He'll be 25 when the season starts.
Wow.
He's a veteran. He's a veteran. We're looking to add experience to our room.
He has 1 year of starting experience in college football.
So is this your way of saying that he just fucking blew the pick?
So I'm actually rewatching Kyrie Jackson this week because I watched him before the Senior Bowl, and it was versus Romo Dunes, and Romo Dunes smoked him. But I want to see him against other non-top 10 wide receiver talent.
I liked him down at the Senior Bowl.
But he did look good at the Senior Bowl, but his film I watched beforehand, I wasn't super impressed with.
Well, especially him being 25, I did not.
Emmanuel Forbes and Kyrie Jackson. How about that?
That flew over the Washington front office's head. His age. I'm drafting him. Good ball player, Dan Quinn, corner. He likes forming them up. Boom.
So Green Bay Packers are on the board. Who did they take in the first round? The people are asking. And when they get asked that, they get the answer that they took Jackson Powers Johnson. So they took offensive line. That's obviously one of their needs here, going into the draft. I'm struggling with this one because there's some safeties that I like that I think would go the fit there with the Xavier McKinney that they added. They could add more offensive line too, right? But the Packers are good at getting those guys on day 3 and day 4. So what I'm going to do for I am going to go safety, and I'm going to go my safety 1. And this guy, to me, has a lot of similarities to Xavier McKinney, who they signed, who has bad testing. But if you go, we went and talked about it on Talking Giants, Rose, about how every year with these safeties, the best one or one of the best ones ends up testing bad at the combine. He slides down to the middle of the second round or third round, and then he gets in the NFL, and he's just good because safety is not a position that measures how fast you run in a straight line. It measures how fast you can process a defense and get going. Right. Anyways, I think this guy's athletic. I'm going Cam Kinchens out of Miami for the Green Bay Packers. Pair him with Xavier McKinney. You get two really two from the U. Two diverse safeties who can do a bunch of different things, so you can move them around and turning a weakness into a strength of the Green Bay Packers.
That's making a strength even more of a strength. I love that.
Houston has not picked, right? They traded their pick to Minnesota.
Yes.
Who then traded that pick to the Chargers in order to move up. So this is the first time we're seeing Houston, which has had a really, really good offseason, in our opinion, right? They've got their quarterback. They don't pay him any money, so it allowed them to splurge. The one area where I thought it felt a little disjointed was cornerback, right? It was like they brought in a bunch of guys, but none of them felt like they stood out. Like Jeff Okudah is opposite Singletary there in the secondary, and he's now on his third team in the last 3 years. Yes, he was a top 5 pick, but he never really made it. So the question is now, where do we go? Because there are a ton of corners that seem to be in a really tightly compacted area. And Max Melton is a guy who did test very well. Yes. Yeah.
He's a perfect fit for that D'Amico Ryans defense.
So that is where we are going. Big Ten corner, in case you've forgotten about Rutgers being in the Big Ten. Brother did some nice things at the end of the year as a 7th rounder for the Green Bay Packers. This guy's
touchdown in the playoffs.
Yeah, this guy's not going to have to wait nearly that long to hear his name called.
Max Melton, how about that? All right, Justin, you're on the clock with the Falcons after taking Jared Verse in the first round.
And I love it. I mean, Max Melton is one of those guys, too, that, I think media consensus boards, I think they actually have him in the 50s or the 60s, but maybe seen as like a round 3 player. Definitely before the Senior Bowl, I don't think was seen as like a day 2 guy, but
right.
I think it just I think it just goes to show how some of these guys that may be projected in the 3rd round, they could be taken earlier because they're just more exciting. I have the Atlanta Falcons pick. And
I was hoping Chop Robinson would fall here, and you could just do the double dip at the edge position.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up, Bobby.
No.
Because Jared Verse was the first-round pick, edge rusher, edge number 1, Florida State. I'm going to go with somebody who Bobby's not that high on, but I'm a little higher on.
Adisa?
No.
Darius Robinson?
Yes. Because he can be a hybrid edge / interior guy. I actually think I'm leaning that he can just be a really big edge in the NFL. We're going to go from, who's that other guy from Penn State? He's escaping my brain. Arnold D.B. Katie. Who's a little undersized and doesn't have that many bags and doesn't have a ton of strength, doesn't have that many bag of tricks. And I'm going to be taking Darius Robinson and adding to a pretty stout edge rusher, pass rushing room and upgrading that room in this.
You also have Calais Campbell there, who's probably like the perfect person to help with the development of Darius Robinson, who was in a very similar pick and similar. Is he an edge or a defensive lineman type player there? So, fellas, the Las Vegas Raiders are on the board. And guess what? There's a cat who people said, do they take him in the first round? And I'm going to do it. I'm going to make this pick. I think this is where it's a good pick to take this player. Even though I don't think he's going to have success, but this is a worthwhile pick. He can come in and start early on with a good chance he'll at least be the best QB on the team for a year or two until you need to either reset or he proves it. And I'm taking Michael Penix Jr., the lefty who can spin it, good arm talent, likes to push the ball downfield. He'll have Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, so he's got a decent receiving unit. He's a very much get the ball out on time, avoid sacks that can lead to interceptions as well. But he's going to at least help run that offense for the Luke Getsy and the Las Vegas Raiders.
Well, who had the Raiders pick in the first round? Who took Quinyon Mitchell?
Justin did.
Yes.
Did you think about Penix at all?
No, I love Quinyon Mitchell that much.
Yeah. Now, we do have to come out and say this is probably where not trading today affects us, because Michael Penix will be gone in the early part of the second round, in my opinion. In fact, it wouldn't be surprising if the Carolina Panthers get a call at 33 and it might even be the Raiders, who say, we need to move up there. But I think he doesn't make it out of the 30s, in my opinion. I think that's what happens.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of baggage with Michael Penix.
It's the second round, man. I mean,
but it's still an important position that your odds are, you're going to need to give this guy time, and you may have to go through some bumps.
The guy's played a ton of football. The guy has played a ton of football.
The Raiders are a spot that makes sense because they need quarterback desperately. They're
Absolutely.
not a team that has like a okay okay quarterback, and they can reasonably they need it desperately.
And all it takes is a team like New Orleans to say, you know what, we'll move up, and he can sit a year, and we'll get out of the Carr contract after this, and then he could be our quarterback at 25 years old, and that's fine with us. And if he's great, then we'll pay him after 2 years. Awesome. The worst thing that happens is that he gets a 9-figure contract. Awesome. Great. But you can't, if you're the Raiders, you can't sit around. I don't think you can. And I think they'll move up. So, speaking of the Saints, they're up.
Saints go marching in. That was the other pick I didn't. I like Brock Bowers for that pick, but I could see their fan base hating it. They kind of just need talent. So,
well, that's the thing.
What talent are you adding at 45?
Well, see, do I go best offensive tackle right now? Because that is a big problem. I could go corner, no question there. But there's actually a guy on the board who I'm shocked is on the board. Why is Ladd McConkey still on the board?
I would like to, I don't know if Justin's done his full write-up on Ladd McConkey. I'm not as high on Ladd McConkey as other people.
Do you see him as a second rounder, though?
Yeah, second round, but I think bottom of the second round is where he belongs, and we're getting to that point. So everyone's like, oh, people just compare him to every white slot receiver. Obviously, that's annoying. But here's the issue, is I do think he's going to have to play in the slot, which brings you value because he can't beat press, and he doesn't have the speed to make you pay for when you beat press, and he's got some injuries. So I'm not as high as Ladd McConkey as others. I don't think picking him the first round. But for the Saints, this is a solid pick. But I do think he's going to play mostly in the slot in the NFL.
Okay. Well, welcome to Ladd McConkey world.
All right, Justin, the Colts are on the board right before the New York Giants. So I am invested in you not stealing me. The Colts have great intel of the Bobby Big board. They hired away, some regional scout who I was really close with. And he knows what's going in my head. So what are the Indianapolis Colts going to do at pick 46?
Hold on. Before you go, Justin, make this a real pick. Don't do this so that the Giants can get a better player right now, okay?
No.
Spencer Rattler.
I know the Colts are probably thinking the Giants are going to go either Christian Haynes or Jordan Morgan. But no, we need a wide receiver. Because, hey, we have a trio of Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, and Michael Pittman, but I think we want to upgrade on the outside. Alec Pierce is nice, but we want to give Anthony Richardson a little bit more of a vertical threat. Now, I was told by Dalton Feely, they never do this. They never do this. Shut up. Where he thinks that they would go somebody along the lines of Jermaine Burton. But I'm going to take Troy Franklin.
Okay.
Wide receiver out of Oregon. Now, he was basically only a vertical threat at Oregon, but I think he can do more. I think his route tree could be a little bit more well-rounded in the NFL. He is a good athlete. He has long, smooth strides. It allows him to threaten vertically. We know that Anthony Richardson has that arm. So I will be taking Troy Franklin.
Franklin's going to be one of the more interesting picks from this draft because he's going to be like how'd he fall to the middle of the second round, or is he going to be a total bust? Like I feel like there's no in the middle with Troy Franklin.
He's so skinny, isn't he?
Very, very small.
Yeah, and there's like some really there's a lot of bad stuff to his game, but he's undeniably a great athlete who can get there. I mean, he's been number 2 on the Bobby Big board for a little while. So,
by the way, I think you're getting off the Alec Pierce train a little too quick. That guy is an athlete, dude.
I really like Alec Pierce. I hasn't worked in Indy, but I really liked Alec Pierce coming out of Cincinnati.
He's played 3 or 4 games with the quarterback of their future.
He's the reason I hate Desmond Ridder, because I'm like, this guy's open all the time, and Ridder just doesn't deliver. What do you guys see in Ridder?
I mean, being the backup number 3 receiver, like the backup outside wide receiver is nothing to sneeze about. So, like, your guys aren't Pittman and Franklin aren't going to be on the field all the time, and Franklin may not be ready to handle a full NFL workload that is blocking, and we know how important blocking is for all these wide receivers now in today's NFL. So, I kind of take this as an explosive play threat that maybe we can develop as time goes on because we still have Alec Pierce.
Okay.
Bang.
Well, boys, the Colts did have great intel because the first player they mentioned is the player that I am taking. He's 2nd overall on my big board right now, and I'm going Christian Haynes, the guard out of UConn. He doesn't play point guard. He plays offense. I guess those are offensive guards. He plays guard. Really like this guy. I fell in love with him through this entire draft process, from watching Peyton Wilson to the Senior Bowl to actually going and watching his film. He's a real deal guard. Giants need to continue that offensive line help. So I'm getting Christian Haynes out of UConn at pick 47.
That's good. This is an interesting spot for Jacksonville, right? Took Johnny Newton in the first round, so we took care of a defensive interior spot. They've got 2 tackles that are in the last year of their contracts in Cam Robinson and Walker Little. So I think that Jordan Morgan is probably too good of a talent to pass up here.
Well, he could play. He probably will play guard, and they drafted Anton Robinson or Harrison last year.
Yeah.
But Morgan can play guard. Like Justin was right. Like I thought about drafting him for the Giants to put him at guard.
Yeah. I think that he's the guy that they're going to go to, and I don't think they're done with movement on draft day. I think that somebody's going to go hit the road from their offensive line, and I think that they feel like this is a cheaper option that also will be a talent upgrade, to be honest with you.
You got Jordan Morgan?
I do.
Of that.
All right, Bengals, you're on the clock.
Bengals. Man, there's a slot receiver sitting on the board right now that I did not think would be there.
Perfect Tyler Boyd replacement.
Because I honestly thought that I was going to go with the tight end that was going to be super fun. But I like this player a lot more, and I think I actually like him much better than Ladd McConkey. I'm going to be taking Roman Wilson, wide receiver out of Michigan.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Now, here's what's crazy about the Bengals draft. They're not just, you're saying they're going to take 2 receivers, not just 1 receiver? Shut up. They need a good slot receiver, and that's what Roman Wilson is going to bring. I also just think
3 years in a row, Bengals taking 2nd round Michigan players, DJ Turner and Dax Hill was 1st round. Never mind.
Yeah,
I think he's just like the best player available right now.
He's really good.
Forget
I have one guy ahead of him.
I think there's one Big Ten defensive player that's better. I agree, but.
So, by the way, does that mean that T. Higgins is on the goodbye?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything is pointing to that, right? Like, even if he plays this year, he'll be gone after this season. Like, there's every piece of information points to T. Higgins being gone from the Bengals.
Yeah. Yep. I would agree. Bobby?
I think you're on the clock, right? Or no, I'm on the clock. How about that? I'm like the Eagles in the '05 draft. Or '02 draft or whatever it was. This guy's been best player available on my board for some while. He's the most recent player that I've actually watched for our Talking Giants episode on Wednesday. I'm taking Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker out of Texas A&M.
Yeah, he's
that
good.
guy can fucking fly, dude, and he's like a great processor of what's happening. Now he can get tossed around a little bit. He's got to get a little bit stronger, but and he can play great man coverage. The Eagles desperately need linebacker. I know they brought in Devin White, but Edgerrin Cooper is awesome. He's been a high rated second player that's been on the board for a while. So Eagles, this is a great fit for them.
They were a nightmare at linebacker last year. I mean, that was kind of like the start of their downfall. They were just horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. So good move there. I'm up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right? We took a receiver in the first round, right? Didn't you take Adonai Mitchell?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that was interesting. Even though we do need offensive line help. Got rid of Mason Cole in the middle. Nate Herbig is our starting center. Not sure I love that. So we could just pick him up from Morgantown, West Virginia, and drive him to Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow. Country roads. Take him home.
We're going to go with Zach Frazier is our new man in the middle.
Frazier.
I just got a Is that a because you didn't like it?
You don't like Frazier, Justin?
No, I'm thinking about my pick now.
Oh.
You have the Rams. You took Byron Murphy in the first round.
I did.
Who are you going here? I don't care because there's a clump of players I would take for the Eagles. So
there's a player that's been sitting on the board for a long time that could be safety number one. He is my safety number one. That's Tyler Nubin.
Great fit for the Rams, what they'd like to do.
Safety from Minnesota. We have a safety on the roster right now, and Russell Yeast, first of all, terrible name. Second of all, he had like a 20% missed tackle rate last year, 7th-round pick. So clearly, I think that's a position that could be upgraded. They also signed Cam Curl this offseason. So it's one of those positions of I did not think that Nubin would be available for me at this point, but I'm going to take a really good defensive player and a defense that does need some more names on it.
So that's, I knew that the Rams might take a safety, but I did not care because my safety 2 was available. Like I have this guy in Tyler Nubin as kind of like 2A, 2B. And we just talked about the Eagles desperately need linebacker. They get one to match up. Well, they also desperately need safety. I know they brought back CJ Gardner, but I'm taking Cole Bishop out of Utah. This guy is fun to watch. He understands the position. I'm super high on him. He can do he can play every spot on the field. I'm getting Cole Bishop, and I'm celebrating the Eagles' second-round picks of Edgerrin Cooper and Cole Bishop. They drafted Nate Wiggins in the first round via Justin, so they need to truly fix that defense. We know they have the pass rush up front. They need everything else, so we're trying to fix the Eagles' defense that way.
I believe Cole Bishop, didn't he play some offense too?
No, that was the other Utah safety, Sion Vaki.
Oh, okay. That was Vaki.
Yeah.
Got it. Is this a little high, though, for Cole Bishop for some people?
Probably for some people, but I've been starting to see him be viewed higher than from other people that I follow. I watched him at the end of March, and I was like, oh my gosh. Also watching Ricky Pearsall versus Utah made me a little higher on him, too. But I really like Cole Bishop. He's safety number 2 after Cam Kinchins for me.
You know who's up now?
Your Brownies.
Welcome to the party, Cleveland Browns. Now, there's no way in the world that this draft is going to go down this way because I have had my eyes on this guy forever. And he just fell into my lap at 54. Braden Fisk is really there. Can't believe it.
That's a good fit in Cleveland. He's going to be a penetrator. Again, the guy. There's talks of him going in the first round. That to me is crazy. Now I think this is right around a good spot for him. But he's got quickness and he knows how to penetrate. He's a fun watch, and Cleveland continues to add to that front.
Yeah, they did bring back a couple of guys in Shelby Harris, whom I saw last week at NFL Network Boot Camp, and they brought back Mo Hurst. So there is a time and a place for this kid, and I think it's right now. Boy, if they could get him, I think Jim Schwartz would go nuts. Feel good about that.
Justin, your Miami Dolphins are on the clock after adding Talise Fuaga in the first round.
This is a Justin pick because I believe in this guy. He's young, lateral movement. He can move. He's got some moves attached to him as well. I'm going to take Michael Hall Jr., interior defensive lineman.
Okay. They need that, so.
He's very young. He is very, very young. I don't know how much he's going to help right away.
No, but you lost.
Yeah, you lost two guys.
You lost
You
Christian
two
Wilkins
guys in the interior.
went to the Raiders. I love the athleticism. I love the lateral movement. And I love the upside that he can bring as a pass rusher. Obviously, maybe will take some time to develop, but Michael Hall Jr. to the Miami Dolphins.
Okay.
So I was thinking about Braden Fisk with the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys.
Sorry.
You know what? You know what the Dallas Cowboys do? They draft guys like this. They don't care. They get talent. And we're bringing in the 400-pound defensive tackle Tavondre Sweat.
Oh, my God.
Texas.
No way.
We're keeping the Texas kid
No.
a little too close to home. It's a little dangerous. Keep him around his friends. That's not great. But we are adding him.
No.
We need run stopping on the inside. We need Mozzie Smith to take a step forward. Dan Quinn's gone. We need to add some beef in the middle. We're adding Tavondre Sweat.
There's no way that happens. It can't be. Not after this DUI arrest.
That's what the Cowboys do. Rose, me and Justin predicted, like with confidence, Sam Williams from Ole Miss a couple years ago was going to be a Dallas Cowboy, and that's exactly what happened. They don't care about this shit.
Was Sam Williams a second or a third rounder?
He was a second.
I think the Cowboys took him in the second round.
Yeah. Second. He was. I think he was a second round player, but it was just some of the off the field stuff. Did you hear what Jerry Jones had to say about because Sam Williams had some like speeding issues like as a pro? I think that was something that he was.
Yeah, he got in trouble like twice as a pro.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerry Jones was just like, yeah, we got to emphasize speeding it down a little bit, like just.
Oh, he said he's like because he got one ticket that was like 120 or whatever, and then one was like 90. He's like, we're doing good. We're getting that speed down.
We're getting that speed down a little bit. Just a crazy thing to say. So we know that this is what they do. Cowboys are willing to do stuff like this.
Interesting. All right.
Bucks.
I know. Hold on. I'm checking one thing.
Keon Coleman still on the board. Keep him home.
No interest there. Thank you. Pass. I'm thinking either corner or linebacker here. There's still a lot of good corners on the board, in my opinion. I think, though, I'm going to go linebacker. I think that Junior Colson, I think he's a really good football player on an awesome defense from last year out of Michigan. They need to replace some people. They brought one veteran back. They let another one go. You know, they weren't that busy in the offseason, Tampa Bay, felt like. So here you go, linebacker.
Yeah, obviously White is out of there now. He wasn't very good, but he plays to Levante David. So Levante David will probably still be playing throughout his entire rookie contract next to him. So they get themselves a nice little linebacker duo there.
Dane Brugler has him as his linebacker number 1.
How about that?
Dane's a smart man. That's all I can say. He's pretty good at what he does.
Are the Packers not like I don't? Everybody I'm sure has had a Packers pick. Bobby, you had a Packers pick, which by the way,
I did.
If you didn't take a safety before, there's some people in the draft room that are looking at the Adrian Taylor Demerson being like, why did we need to take Cam Kitchens earlier? We could have had DTD here, who basically plays like a linebacker, hard-hitting guy. But Cam Kitchens is really good too, and both of their skill sets are so different. But if you didn't take a safety earlier, I would have gone DTD here. But I don't know. Is if anytime I've had a Packers pick,
Packers double up at positions though.
I've been utterly confused on what to do. Utterly confused. You could take like a lineman and be like, yeah, well, just join the party. Rook or Horoho, they need an interior guy from Clemson. You know what? You mentioned that they double up on positions. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm going to take DTD, the Daedrian Taylor Demerson out of Texas Tech.
I was kind of expecting to be able to pick him with one of my last 2 picks. I thought he would be. I had the Ravens pick 62, and I was eyeing Daedrian Taylor Demerson with that pick.
Good pick.
Now that they lost Geno Stone, so that one hurts. So they double up and they spend the money on free agency. So they're a safety city over there. But they doubled up last year with tight ends with Musgrave and Taylor Craft.
I do want to say about the Packers. Like, we got comments saying, "Oh, the Packers aren't going to draft an offensive lineman in the first round." This wasn't a lot of people. And we even have Dre, who's an editor at John Boyme, he's a Packers fan. He's like, "Yeah, I could see them taking Jackson Powers Johnson the first round." They don't have a lot of names. They have tackles. They have 5 tackles, but they have their starting left guard, their starting center, and then they have 2 right guards that's listed on our lads. That's it. So they need just bodies on the interior on the road to 90 here as we get going. So I don't want to hear that they're not going to draft offensive linemen. I think they're going to.
Bobby?
But with the Texans is tough, right? Like, I thought about Trey Benson at running back, but they have Mixon and Pierce. Wide receivers out of play. You're not going to go tight end with Dalton Schultz and Brevin Jordan on the team. Even offensive line. Like, you think about how injured they got, but when you put together their starting group, you have Tunsil and Howard as the tackles. You have Kenyon Green, who was a first-rounder 2 years ago. Shaq Mason, they traded. And then Juice Scruggs, who performed pretty well. So it was like, it kind of takes me away from offensive line. Pass rush is not there. I don't love the corners in this class, even though I think TJ Tampa would be a good fit. I'm kind of stuck on what to do here. But I'm going to add defensive line. I'm going to go Clemson, Ruke, or Horo.
No, Rook, a row.
No joke. I want to draft him just so I can go.
Just think of it like Scooby Doo. Rook, a row. So
we're getting crazy. We're getting crazy. There's 5 picks left.
Yes, and I will make the next one.
That was the biggest gripe, is Bills not taking. Bills fans are so dead set on taking a walk. They would pass up. Be like, hey, here's the best offensive tackle in the NFL. And they'd be like, I don't give a shit. Give me wide receiver 8 in this draft. They are so dead set on wide receiver.
So everybody wanted to talk about Rome Odunze, and with good reason, out in Washington. And I watched, obviously, a ton of their games this year. I love Jalen Polk. I just think there's something about him. It seems like he does everything well. I don't even remember how great he tested or anything, but I just like him as a football player. I think he could be great up there. That's the guy I'm going with. Out of all the receivers, I know that there's some other guys who might have more interesting measurables and bigger and all this sort of stuff. I want a guy who just catches the freaking football. I don't care what weather. He didn't play in great weather in Seattle. We're good.
Yeah, I mean, he had 1,200 yards last year, 70 catches, 9 touchdowns. Was really big for Michael Penik. So get your wide receiver there.
Yep.
All right, the Detroit Lions are on the clock, Justin. Our Detroit Lions, the ones that we turned around this year.
All right. I kind of feel like the Lions are at a point where we could take best player available and kind of just figure it out and worry about it later. And a guy that I really like popped off at the Senior Bowl. Marshawn Nealand from Western Michigan. He's a big dude, but he's got good burst for his size. I think he's got a really high motor too. I think he's not going to give up on plays. And I think having a really good influence of Aiden Hutchinson on the opposite side, even if he doesn't evolve into a starter, having a rotation of really good pass rushers is something that good football teams do. And the Lions are a good football team. Marshawn Nealand, your Detroit Lion.
Now, the Michigan man stays in Michigan. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the Ravens, I'm really happy with who I have here now that the Dejan Taylor Demerson's off the board. I'm taking Cooper Beebe, the guard out of Kansas State. They lost offensive line in this. I know we took Tyler Guyton in the first round. You lost Kevin Zeitler to the Detroit Lions. Cooper Beebe is someone who kind of reminds you a little bit of Zeitler. I'm adding guard there for the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay, it's good.
That's my last pick of the day.
Yes, it is. I'm on to my last pick, San Francisco 49ers.
Take Spencer Rattler.
Will you stop that? For goodness sakes. I'm trying to see here. So they took, you took the, yeah, Sanders still in the first round. They're so deep everywhere, right?
Yes.
Like, do you go another corner? Just keep adding?
I don't think there's any issue with that.
I'll tell you what I don't. All right, hold on. I need to look at a position here. I'll have 5 minutes on the clock in real time. I promise you won't.
We got plenty of time. We're under an hour.
I just don't love, like, their offensive line outside of a future Hall of Famer was meh, right? At best.
Absolutely.
Like they've needed interior guys for a little bit now.
I know, but I don't even like their right tackle.
No.
And there's still a bunch of guys on the
right
board.
tackle got his ass kicked last year.
But they brought him back. Maybe that's just
they did sign a 1 year deal for a good amount of money, right?
Yeah, it was like 1 for 7 or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. We are going to go with the big boy who is definitely a right tackle out of BYU. We're going to go with Kingsley Suamatia. So he is Penei Sewell's cousin. So we're hoping that some of that will rub off on him. And we're going to take him.
Could you imagine Penei Sewell on the 49ers? That'd be nuts. Is that the year they traded up for Trey Lance, by the way? Yes, right? Penei Sewell?
Penei Sewell just finished his 3rd year, right? So, yeah, 2021.
Yeah, so you could have just drafted Penei Sewell 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Assholes. They got to figure it out there. They're going to Super Bowls.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Justin, I screwed over our Kansas City Chiefs fans not taking Xavier Worthy in the first round. Who you finishing this draft off with?
They took Ricky Pearsall. So wide receivers, we took a wide receiver. I started off the year by going viral.
Deion Coleman here.
By talking about how Jawan Taylor's right foot was bouncing up and down all in the air and how he was tipping plays and he was also not playing very well too. So even though the Chiefs have invested in a lot of money in the offensive line and the tackle room, we're going to get a tackle. I'm going guys that I've watched and I've seen pretty heavy. A guy like Blake Fisher is rated higher, but I think Christian Jones is the athlete that the Chiefs need at right tackle. So I'm going to cap off the second round with him.
How about that?
Interesting. Very interesting.
We did it.
We did. We have made it through 2 rounds.
Do we dare do a 3rd round?
No.
Who had the best draft in all of this?
Well, I want to be able to see it.
Take a look.
I think the Giants, can't lie, getting Neighbors and Christian Haynes.
See, who did the honestly, like
I kind of love the Eagles getting Edgerrin Cooper. Obviously I'm gravitating to the ones I did, but getting Edgerrin Cooper and Cole Bishop I really like.
Yeah, that's excellent. That is excellent.
The Chargers through 2 rounds.
Yeah. Hey. Cowboys get guys on the trenches on both sides, Graham Barton and Tavondre Sweat.
Tavondre, come on. I'm still telling you, man. I don't even think the Dallas Cowboys will pull that one off.
Sam Williams was more of like a legal headache than Tavondre Sweat was. Are you hearing like even worse? We know, anyways. Here's the thing: is Tavondre Sweat doesn't need to be in great shape to be a really good player. All right, that's a first second round mock draft.
We're just sitting here kind of analyzing this stuff as we go. We could probably do that on our own time.
I'm looking at the Rams. I love the Rams getting Tyler Nubin, and I also love the Rams getting Byron Murphy in the first round.
Yes,
I mean,
but that's not going to happen because the Bengals aren't nearly as stupid as somebody on this show.
Whoa, hey.
That's me.
That's debatable.
Hey. I also love the Falcons walking away with Darius Robinson and Jared Verse through the first 2 days would be kind of crazy too.
We are going to set the fucking edge.
Or else.
Next show, we're not doing a mock 5th round, are we, Bobby?
No.
I would love to get to a point where I could do that, right? I just, my goal is to eventually be in a place where we can put together write-ups on 350 guys.
Be awesome.
We're
inching closer. We are T-minus 9 days away from the draft in Detroit. So for producer Mikey and the dudes from the Talking Giants world, Penik and Skinner, I am Chris Rose. We will see you Friday here on Football Today.